Everybody, we are here with another special interview with what I think is a little bit of a bigwig around here.
Oh, wow. I should have worn a tie.
I mean, I follow him on Twitter, and I see all the great things, and I know he's doing great things on campus, but I'm here with Dr. Thomas Lane.
Good morning, I guess.
Yes, we wouldn't know in here, I guess.
No.
We could be totally storming outside. We'd have no idea because we're in a sound studio here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, exactly. We wanted to have, when we were doing this, so this is for the First Gen Week of Celebration, we're doing interviews with various people, and we wanted to have, just a wide range, because First Gen students, it is a wide range of people. I just told Dean Mercer, who was in here, I said, I had no idea you were a first-gen student. I just assumed, you make these assumptions that, I just assumed that, you were from a lineage of K-Staters who came and then you made your way up to Dean. So, so before we get started on our questions, tell us kind of what your role is, your job title, and what you do here at K-State.
Sure. I'm Thomas Lane, Vice President for Student Life and Dean of Students, and how I explain my job. First, I have the best job on campus. I know some folks will argue with me about that, but I do have the best job on campus. My role is really in four areas. One, I make sure that students know that they belong, that they matter, that they have a vibrant K-State experience, and that they have opportunities to increase their sense of well-being. I have a great team of folks in the Division of Student Life that assist us in moving forward those four areas. But that's what I do on campus. And I feel pretty blessed to be able to have that opportunity.
Well, that's from what I hear, the word on the street, I think, is what it is. I hear you're doing good things.
Oh,
and I hear that you are highly respected on campus, and obviously we all appreciate what you're doing. So let's though talk about and focus a little bit on you at the beginning, and we think about what does it mean to you about being a first-gen student and then a first-gen graduate?
Yeah, so when I think of first-generation student, what I think of immediately is what does first-generation mean? I think for me, and I think how our campus interprets it, is if you are the first one in your family to attain a 4-year degree, or to progress towards a 4-year degree, you are considered a first-generation student. I think what it's important to remember is that that's one piece of one's identity.
Sure.
It's certainly it can be an important piece, but also not to be overlooked with other parts of identity.
Yeah.
For example, BIPOC or trans or LGBT. Or,
military veteran is what that's what I work with on the side.
Yeah, and so I think when I think of first generation, you're the first one in your family to pursue that 4-year degree.
Yeah, and I think I get excited talking about first gen stuff because it really is this population of that you see you're here or if you've graduated you've done it and you're now legacy.
Yeah.
You set this trajectory.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, right. My high school guidance counselor sure didn't think
you would have told me that I would have
a
degree when I was 18 years old. I would
exactly the same. I was also first gen, but this isn't about me. I was told I wasn't college material, so look at me now.
There you go. See?
But
isn't irony great?
It is fantastic, and I probably deserved to hear that at that time. But when we think about your first gen experience back when you were a student, what are some things that come to mind? Maybe I don't want to say fears, but some things okay, well. I've got the acceptance letter, and I'm going to go to this university. Well, now what? What are some? Can you remember back to kind of that experience?
I wish I would have had the language or the first generation construct to help make better sense of what my college experience was at the time that I was going through it. And I am a first generation college student, but I didn't know that in terms of that. There wasn't that name at the time, but it certainly helps explain the challenges which were significant that I faced as a first-year student. I was the first one in my family to go to a university. My mom went for about a week, and she ended up coming back home because she was in love with my dad, and he was still in our hometown.
Sure.
And so my grandfather still told that story for many years of having to move my mom from Southern Illinois University and then back a week later, and I think it was a source of tension in my family for a little while. So I was the first one of my family to go to university, and I really did not know what my reason for being there was, frankly. Now, that being said, I had a really good time my first couple semesters.
Sure.
But
That's expected.
but not in the academic space.
Yes, yeah.
And so I ended up getting on academic probation my freshman year. I had a 1.8 grade point average my freshman year. And it wasn't until I ended up getting involved in a student organization.
Mm-hmm.
It was the university, the union's programming council, what would be considered UPC here at K-State, that I really got a sense of connection to the university.
Yeah.
And motivation, because you had to have a certain GPA to be a leader in that
Mm-hmm.
organization, and that is what motivated me to start going to classes more regularly, doing my assignments, listening to what faculty members were trying to convey to me. But it looked for a while there that my college career was going to be very short-lived.
Yeah. I want to highlight something there to our watchers here. So, Dr. Lane, in the prestigious position and the bigwig that he is here on K-State, struggled as a freshman.
Oh my gosh, mightily.
And so if you're out there and you're viewing this, and hopefully this reaches you, that if you're that person and that's happening to you, you don't have to think like, well, I guess this experience and this whole thing of me going to university and college is, I guess it's just over, I'm not fit out for it. Dr. Lane found some type of student organization that he was able to be a part of. And that is any type of, when we look at like transitional theory, you talk about self, you have to have confidence in what you're doing. So you have to be able to say like, I can't do this. You got to think about the situation that you're in. Well, you're in a university, so you're in the spot to make it happen. But you also have to think about the support. And without those three, at least those three things, if you don't have one of them, you're going to fail, and essentially you're going to struggle.
Certainly,
and so
the likelihood is increased substantially.
that's exactly it, and we have so many fantastic student organizations out there and folks that can help. So I just want
400 student organizations, as a matter of fact.
I had no idea.
And if we don't have one that fits your interest, it's really easy to start up.
You can start one up.
That's right. We can get
And there you go.
You can get us to 500.
Yeah, and we'll get that GPA up, and you can maybe someday take over for Dr. Lane here when he retires.
That would be wonderful. Hopefully, that's a long time away.
Yeah. So, but I wanted to highlight that because this is about celebration of the first gen students, and but there is like life struggles happen.
That's right.
Coming to especially the university the size of K-State, I remember in my pathway that I took a winding pathway, joined the military and was did community college and then came to K-State. I was the same way.
Yeah.
I was on academic probation and then got deployed and didn't come back, and so I started my PhD. So things happen, and things happen in life that are going to take you to a path. If it was, I remember the one thing. My dad was one of those hit stuff with hammers, hardworking type, man's man type of a person. But he told me like anything, if everybody could do it, they would. And not everybody can do things that are hard and things that are challenging at times. So,
but it certainly helps. It certainly helps when you have the support.
That's exactly it. And because it is hard, doesn't mean that you have to face that on your own. Right. And so,
and in fact, I've said in many environments, asking for help is a sign of strength, and that seeking of support is a sign of strength. It's a sign that you're committed to being successful.
That's it.
So don't ever hesitate to ask for support.
There is this like, I can do it. I can get through it. Get through it. Sometimes you need that, just like I talked about. There is that element of when you're doing something new or you're transitioning. There is that element of support. Sure. You've got the self-confidence. I can do it. I can do it. But there is that element of support that is just absolutely something that if you need to seek it and it's out there, seek it. So.
I always tell our students, we don't give any special prizes at commencement for doing it all on your own.
No, that would be a good one though. Hey, we've identified one person here who did this exactly by themselves. No.
And I've been through a lot of commencements. Yeah. I've not seen it yet.
Well, when we think about how does K-State celebrate their first generation students, what do we do that you're aware of? But then what are some things is there any ideas that you think that we could be doing to kind of celebrate further? Yeah,
so I think I think we need to recognize that we are one of the few universities in the country that have an office specifically designated for first generation students. Yes, so we have the Office of First Generation Student Success. It's part of our the Student Success area in the Office of the Provost. And they do a wonderful job in creating a space and resources for first-generation students to access. They have a great first-generation student lounge area, so if you can just need a space to
Sure.
be,
Yeah.
they provide that space, but
Yeah.
also making sure that they have resources and information that's specifically geared to first-generation
Yeah.
students. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
We have a first-generation celebration of graduation, and so I've had a chance to offer some brief remarks during those celebrations. I think that's really important to celebrate the success of our
Oh, for sure.
first-generation students, because then our students who maybe are having that kind of, oh, can I do this or not, they can see those role models that are. And I think the other piece for our first-generation students that I'd want to make sure, sometimes I think our first-generation students think that they're the only one that are going or experiencing
Yeah.
their experience of K-State, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
Even if you think everybody around you has it all together, let me assure you that
Yes.
they don't. And so again, don't be afraid to ask for help or support, because there's lots of other folks that are going through a similar experience,
Yeah.
maybe having the similar questions that you're having.
Yeah. Yeah, take a visit to that first gen office, and because really I think like sometimes it's finding your people or finding that community before maybe you have the confidence to branch out.
Yeah.
To others, or just integrate that. And like you talked about, there's multiple, your first gen, there's multiple identities that can go along with that. So
Absolutely.
having sort of this rounded approach of the folks that you can connect with and find support in and talk with, I think is extremely important, and something that, in my opinion, K-State does extremely well in facilitating and having those avenues too. So that's everything I have. Is there anything that you want to add in closing as far as on topic to first gen students?
Well, I just love that you are providing this space and this opportunity for conversation for our first generation students and directed to our first generation students. They're such an important part of our K-State family, and thank you for this opportunity to visit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you I know you're a busy person.
No, it's been great to
So
visit.
in the greatest job apparently
I
on
do.
K-State
Best
right
job.
here. But thank you for the time, and we very much appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate
All
it.
right, thanks.